obviously, because I know there are a lot of people who live in this riding, but who also work at some of the auto sector plants in Oakville. So a lot of us are going to potentially be losing our jobs in at least the short term. So I do think that outside of just a general strengthening, we do also need to look at growing our other partnerships around the world. We've kind of, I think, focused a little too much on keeping the U.S. as our main partner, and there's a lot of opportunity out there if we need to break ties with the U.S. to some extent. I think the biggest part, given that a lot of people, as I said, are going to be losing their jobs, is that we are going to need to take a serious look at our EI program and CERB and really focus on expanding those and making sure that they're more accessible to people, raising the bar for what you're going to get offered, and obviously making sure that you don't have to wait to be getting any of those benefits, because I'm hearing it left and right that people are already losing their jobs, and it really breaks my heart to hear that. So I think that we are really going to have to band together and support our workers in absolutely any potential way we can. Thanks.
So I got drawn second for this question. We know that the President of the United States to the south of us is a little unpredictable, right? Every day there's something new in the news. What we need to do as Canadians is we need to focus here at home. Interprovincial trade, and I know it's already being addressed, but it needs to be addressed so that it works for Canadians from coast to all the coasts. There's a lot of coasts in our country. We really need to look at our international trading partners. And one of the beautiful things about our country is our natural reserves, right? Within the Green Party, they've put out an idea of actually oh my gosh, the language is losing me today, but actually taking those natural reserves like they did with maple syrup in Quebec and actually stockpiling a little bit so we can control the price of it. We also need to look at internally within our country, looking at finding business, not international enforced business, but business within the country that will help to take that lumber and actually produce it, right? There's a lot to be fixed, but we need to learn to work together, and we need to stand strong together, and that's all I have to say with that. Thanks.
The second question is on integrity. If elected, would you vote against your party if you didn't agree, and particularly if it's at odds with what you know are the needs and wants of the constituents? For this one, we have Charles, Mary, and Evelyn.
So, just so you understand, we're only allowed to answer, two of us can answer a question to provide it. So I can't get into the annexation question, but I do want to talk about that. Right now, integrity is what really matters in any political campaign and in any candidate that you choose. You guys know me because I fought with you hand in hand when we were trying to get rid of emitters in our community. Not only were we trying to support and protect the Lakeview site, but we had 30 smog days a year, and after we did what we did, we had 0. But we still had emitters in the community. We were threatened with more in Clarkson, and the Clarkson airshed was heavily taxed, and people were fighting and wanted me to stand with them, over 11 to 12 town halls, and I had to go against my government. That's integrity. It was a dental floss line that I was walking, but I was offering solutions, not just whining about the problem. We had alternatives that we fought for and showed, to the point where they listened to the community because I listened to you. That's all this matters. We're not clapping seals. We can't be there just at the whims of the center, obviously, because they're telling him not to come. If he doesn't show today, he's not going to show tomorrow. I am here for you, and I always have been. We have fought to revitalize the waterfront. We have fought many investments into our community. In the biotech industry, over in Speakman, over $30 to $100 million have been brought into the community. That's jobs, real jobs, clean jobs. Because the other alternative here is the clean energy, which is also an economic priority. And we have district energy now at Lakeview. That is a jewel around all the Great Lakes that no other has been able to do. We'll continue to fight, and I'll continue to fight, because that's why I get elected. I get elected by you You're my boss, and I'm trying to renew my contract.
So the question was, if elected, would you vote against your party if you disagreed? And the answer from me is yes. Greens are the only party that in our Constitution have no whipped votes. And I respect that Charles had to dental floss line, was it? I think that's what you said. As a Green, I will never have to walk a dental floss line. I will have discussions with my other fellow Green MPs, and we will discuss the issues and go through it thoughtfully. But our constituents come first. That is the mandate of the party. That brings democracy. So I had mentioned in my opening that we are facing a lack of democracy within our House of Commons because we have parties, or we have MPs, that they are not allowed to step away from their party line. They get punished. There's actually a great book. It's called Tragedy in the Commons. I'm almost done reading it, but an election happened. I got sidetracked. Anyways. But we have a system that's broken, and that's not Charles's fault, and that's no other MP's fault. It's the problem with our system, and we need to stop this top-down leadership mentality where the leaders tell their MPs how to work, and we need to ensure that our MPs are working for us here. And that's going to take all of us, maybe if Charles gets reelected, backing him, or if you elect me, I'm going to do that right away. So that's all I have to say.
I'll have you know
Thank you.
that I have supported the Greens and the NDP on a number of votes, contrary to my party. One was ranked ballot. You spoke about that. We knew need election reform. Another one was child pornography, that we're putting something forward. We need to make certain that they're protected. And a third was humanitarian rights in the Middle East. I stood to try to make and remind people of the humanitarian rights for a dual recognition of what's happening in the Middle East.
Well, thank you for that.
Well, as a first timer, I wish I could say that this is an easy question, but it's not. I personally, I don't believe in blind loyalty. I think that obviously when you're running for the first time with a party, you do have to walk that fine line, as Charles has said, whether it's right at the beginning or throughout your career. So for me, I would certainly hope to strive to walk that same line because, yes, to some extent, you do have to be supportive of your party and their policies, but at the end of the day, it is about people, and I feel like the parties have kind of lost that because they've made it maybe more about the executive than they have about the people who, their MPs serve in the first place. So, yeah, I'd say it would probably depend on what the issue was, and there's so many issues you can pick from, but I would always be the one reminding my party that I'm not here to serve, the higher ups and be a yes person, but I'm here to actually fix the lives of the people who I want to represent and who I feel like I'm one of you. So I think that there are moments where you do have to learn how to be able to compromise. You won't always be able to do what you necessarily want to, but as Charles said, sometimes if you push things hard enough, you can get your party to see things differently and eventually agree with you. But I do think that it is important to learn how to say no to your party and kind of gain respect from that too. So I think there's no black or white answer to this, but for me, I would always make sure that you guys came first and that I would do my absolute best to make sure that that was the legacy that I left.
All right. The Canadian consumer carbon tax is now gone, but the Earth continues to warm at an accelerated rate. What specific initiatives do you propose to deal with climate change? We've got Mary and Charles.
I love that I get to go first. I don't know why. It's all good. So I had mentioned it in my opening. First and foremost, we have a oil problem. We're extracting raw bitumen that's causing disastrous problems and leaving, we're scarring the earth in our Western countries. So really removing funding from the big oils. I wish I wrote the number down. It was like 30 billion, and it could have been more, that was given, subsidies that were given to big oil in 2024 from our federal government. They spend a lot of time lobbying, right? So they're pushing and pushing because they've